Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive into one of the most talked about scandals in American history.
The Clinton-Lewinsky saga.
Yeah, exactly. So whether you're maybe prepping for a history presentation or getting ready for some kind of debate or just, fascinated by all this, we're going to unpack a CNN timeline on this.
Okay.
We're going to look at the Starr report, which is, the official legal document about
Yeah.
the whole affair, and even go through transcripts from those really intense congressional hearings.
Oh, yeah.
So
There was something else.
it's a lot to cover.
It is.
Our mission is to try to figure out how a private relationship turned into this huge national crisis.
A question that still resonates today, I think.
Yeah?
Especially now when the lines between public and private life seem so blurry.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about.
It is.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's jump into that CNN timeline and focus on the years 1995 to 1998.
Okay.
We've got to set the stage here.
Sure.
Back then, Bill Clinton was president and Monica Lewinsky was a White House intern.
Oh.
And the story really starts to unfold in November of 1995,
Great.
according to Linda Tripp. And she was a co-worker of Lewinsky's who secretly recorded their conversations.
Oh, wow.
This is when the relationship began.
It's crucial to remember the context back then.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have social media or the constant news cycle
Right.
like we have now.
It was a completely different world.
It was.
Can you imagine a time when news traveled slower
Right.
and the public had a totally different idea of what was considered private?
A different understanding, yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It is.
So we have this relationship unfolding behind closed doors in the White House.
Right.
Then fast forward to 1998.
Okay.
Things really come to a head on April 29th, and this is the day that changed everything for Lewinsky.
Oh, really?
A judge ruled that she would not receive immunity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that decision meant Lewinsky was facing potential legal consequences for her involvement with Clinton.
Right. And it's at this point that we start to see this legal battle intertwining with the personal one.
Yeah, the stakes just got super high.
For sure.
Then, just a day later, on April 30th, 1998, Clinton holds his first news conference after the scandal breaks, and he doesn't hold back at all.
Oh, my gosh.
He lashes out at Ken Starr.
Ken Starr?
Yeah, now who's Ken Starr?
I don't remember him.
He wasn't just any lawyer.
Right.
He was appointed as an independent counsel, meaning he had special powers to investigate this whole situation.
I see.
So Clinton's attack on Starr was a calculated move, aiming to try to discredit the investigation and rally public support.
And we have to remember this is all happening with this backdrop of really intense partisan politics.
Yeah, it really is like watching a political thriller unfold in real time.
It is.
Then on May 5th, 1998, Clinton loses his claim of executive privilege.
Oh, wow.
Now, this isn't just some legal term, it's about the power of the presidency.
Interesting.
This ruling meant that Clinton couldn't keep certain information private, even if it related to, personal matters.
Do you think that a president should have absolute privacy, even if it could impact their ability to govern?
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
That's a really good question.
it's one that's still debated today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That legal battle over executive privilege kind of leads us right into our next source, the Starr report.
Okay.
Now, you might think it's just a boring legal document, but it's actually a treasure trove of details.
Really?
Almost like reading a political drama.
The Starr report went beyond the legal aspects of the case, though.
Right.
It really delved into the personal relationships and the actions of those involved.
It did.
It creates a really complex narrative.
For example, the report details this whole gift exchange between Clinton and Lewinsky.
Okay.
The prosecutors even subpoenaed a specific hat pin.
A hat pin.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
The report reveals that Clinton gave Lewinsky more gifts after the subpoena.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if he was trying to keep things quiet, wouldn't that seem counterproductive?
These details about the gifts are really interesting.
They are.
Were they just tokens of affection? Or were they attempts to influence Lewinsky, maybe even keep her quiet?
Yeah.
I mean, the report doesn't give us those answers,
Yeah.
but it definitely raises a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
It does.
Then there are Lewinsky's notes and cards to Clinton
Okay.
during the Paula Jones deposition, and that was a separate legal case against Clinton.
All right.
He testified that they contained nothing remarkable,
Interesting.
but he was very evasive about the details. What was he so determined to keep hidden?
This lack of transparency,
Right.
this withholding of information really fueled public speculation.
It did.
And added to the growing sense of intrigue
Yeah.
surrounding the whole affair.
And then, adding to the drama, the report also describes Lewinsky's attempts to influence Linda Tripp's testimony.
Oh, wow.
Remember, Tripp was the one secretly recording those conversations?
Right, right.
This adds a whole other layer of
Yeah.
complexity. It wasn't just about Clinton, it was about the relationships between these women, their loyalties,
Right.
and the incredible pressure they were all under.
It really highlights that human element of the story.
It
I
does.
know these weren't just names in a legal document.
Right.
They were real people whose lives were being dramatically impacted by these events.
Absolutely. So we've got this secret relationship, legal battles heating up, and a whole lot of unanswered questions.
Right.
This is where those congressional hearings come in a defining moment in American political history.
Absolutely.
Really a defining moment.
Yeah. Those weren't just hearings. They were like a public reckoning, a national debate about power, accountability and morality all played out on live television.
And the center of it all was this incredibly charged debate about what even sexual relations meant.
Right.
Clinton's lawyers were parsing every single word.
Oh, yeah.
The legal implications of each phrase were huge.
Oh, I bet.
It became the semantic battleground.
It did.
And this wasn't just some philosophical discussion. It played directly into the accusations of obstruction of justice.
Right.
The president's careful use of language,
Yeah.
his attempts to narrowly define the nature of his relationship with Lewinsky,
Yeah.
were all scrutinized as potential efforts to mislead or obstruct the legal process.
It makes you wonder.
It's mind-blowing how much hinged on the interpretation of language.
It is.
And then there's Vernon Jordan.
Oh, yeah. Vernon Jordan.
He was a close friend and advisor to Clinton.
Right.
And the hearings dug into his role in finding Lewinsky a job.
Okay.
Was he trying to help her, or was this a way to silence her to keep her from cooperating with the investigation?
The report highlighted the timing of these events.
Yeah.
Lewinsky's job search coincided with the escalating legal proceedings,
Uh-huh.
which raised serious questions about, intent and the possibility of obstruction of justice.
So many moving parts.
There were.
And then there's Betty Currie, the president's personal secretary.
Right.
Those phone calls from Clinton right after his deposition,
Wait.
asking leading questions about his interactions with Lewinsky really stood out.
Those calls were seen by many as attempts to influence Curry's potential testimony,
Right.
adding more fuel to the fire of those obstruction of justice allegations.
It's like everyone was under a microscope.
Right.
Their actions, their words, their motivations, all dissected and debated in the court of public opinion.
And we can't forget the political climate of the time.
Right.
This wasn't just about Clinton and Lewinsky.
Yeah.
It was about this deeply divided nation, a fierce battle between political parties,
Right.
and a struggle for control of the narrative.
You're right. It was a powder keg of political tension.
It was.
Speaking of the political climate, let's bring in our expert into the conversation.
Okay.
What was the political fallout of this scandal? What were the key arguments for and against impeaching President Clinton?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see a nation wrestling with its own moral compass.
Okay.
The arguments for impeachment focused on upholding the rule of law, holding the president accountable for potential perjury and obstruction of justice,
Right.
and setting a high ethical standard for the highest office in the land.
So accountability and the rule of law were central to the arguments for impeachment.
Absolutely. But there were strong arguments against impeachment as well.
Yeah.
Some argued that the relationship was a private matter,
Right?
unrelated to Clinton's official duties as president,
Okay.
and that the impeachment effort was politically motivated, driven by partisan animosity rather than genuine concern for justice.
So a clash between personal and political
Exactly.
private actions versus public responsibilities.
Right.
What stands out to you about these arguments?
Mm.
Where do you draw the line between personal misconduct and impeachable offenses?
That's a great question.
It's a question that still sparks debate even today.
It does.
It really does.
It's a question that goes to the heart of our democracy.
Oh,
What should be the standard for removing a president from office? Is it purely about legal violations, or is there a broader consideration of moral character and fitness for office? These questions continue to resonate as we grapple with issues of power accountability and the complex relationship between private lives and public service.
And how has our understanding of these issues evolved since the Clinton-Lewinsky scandal?
Well,
It's clear that this event was a watershed moment,
it was.
not just for American politics, but also for our broader cultural understanding of power, privacy, and accountability.
Absolutely. The Clinton-Lewinsky saga unfolded during a period of rapid technological change. The rise of the 24-hour news cycle and the increasing availability of information online meant that this scandal played out on a very public stage.
It's almost unimaginable today thinking about a scandal of this magnitude unfolding without social media amplifying every twist and turn.
Right.
It really highlights the profound shifts in media and public discourse that have occurred in recent decades.
The scandal also forced a national conversation about sexual harassment and power dynamics in the workplace.
Right.
The Me Too movement, well, decades later, certainly owes a debt to the conversations that were sparked by this event.
It's a reminder that history isn't just a collection of dates and events.
Right.
It's a living, breathing force that shapes our present and our future.
It is.
The echoes of the Clinton-Lewinsky saga are still felt today as we continue to grapple with the questions it raised about power, accountability, and the nature of truth itself.
Speaking of truth, the Starr report highlighted some inconsistencies in Clinton's testimony.
Okay.
Remember those specific questions about his interactions with Lewinsky?
Yeah.
The report presented evidence that directly contradicted his sworn statements.
It's those little details that really make you question things.
You do.
For example, the report describes Lewinsky's testimony about an encounter in November 1995.
Oh, okay.
She described the president as being concerned about someone seeing them together. He even tugged on her pink intern pass, suggesting it might be a problem.
Oh, wow.
It's these seemingly small details that paint a vivid picture of their clandestine relationship.
And those details become even more significant when contrasted with Clinton's broader denials of a relationship.
Right.
They highlight the legal strategy at play, this meticulous parsing of language, the selective memory that formed the core of the obstruction of justice allegations.
It's like a high-stakes game of chess.
It is.
Each side trying to outmaneuver the other, using language and evidence as their weapons.
Right.
And in the middle of it all, are these real people, their lives and reputations on the line?
Exactly. And the congressional hearings brought those stakes into sharp focus.
They did.
The nation watched as the president, under oath, defended himself against these accusations, parsing his words, navigating the complex legal landscape.
And the country was divided.
It was.
Public opinion polls revealed a mix of support and condemnation.
Right.
People trying to reconcile their personal views on morality with their assessment of Clinton's performance as president.
It was a period of intense political polarization. Both sides, entrenched in their positions, using the scandal to advance their own agendas.
The media played a huge role too, right?
Absolutely.
Amplifying the voices of both supporters and detractors, shaping public perception of the events as they unfolded.
The media was a key player in this drama, fueling the 24/7 news cycle.
Right.
And contributing to the heightened sense of scrutiny surrounding the case.
It's easy to see how the seeds of our current political climate were sown during this era.
It is.
The Clinton-Lewinsky saga wasn't just about a president and an intern.
Right.
It was about a nation struggling with its identity, its values, and its vision for the future.
And the echoes of that struggle continue to reverberate today.
Yeah.
We're still grappling with the questions of how to hold powerful people accountable, how to navigate the complexities of personal and public morality, and how to find truth in an age of information overload and political spin.
It's a lot to process, isn't it?
It is.
But that's what makes these deep dives so fascinating. We're not just skimming the surface. We're diving deep, exploring the nuances and complexities of these pivotal moments in American history.
And we're doing it together.
Right.
Us engaging in this conversation, wrestling with these challenging questions, that's what brings history to life.
Absolutely.
When we connect it to our own lives and our understanding of the world.
We've been laser focused on those pivotal years.
Right.
1995 to 1998.
Yeah.
But if we zoom out a bit, what about the broader impact of this scandal? How did it affect the 1998 midterm elections, for example?
That's a fascinating question. Clinton's approval ratings actually remained quite high throughout the controversy.
Really?
And the Democrats defied historical trends by gaining seats in the House of Representatives.
That's surprising, given the scale of the scandal.
It is.
You'd expect the president's party to suffer at the polls?
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But some political analysts argue that Clinton's defiant stance, his pushback against the investigation, actually energized his base and motivated them to turn out in support of his party.
So, in a way, the scandal might have inadvertently helped the Democrats.
It's a counterintuitive outcome. Yeah. And it speaks to the complex dynamics of public opinion and how scandals can sometimes have unpredictable political consequences.
And what about Ken Starr, the independent counsel leading the investigation?
Yeah.
He was a controversial figure, wasn't he?
Starr was definitely a lightning rod for criticism.
Okay.
Some accused him of overreaching in his investigation, driven by partisan motivations.
His reputation took a hit, didn't it?
It did, even though he played a key role in bringing the truth to light.
It seems like his legacy is a complicated one.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Some view him as a crusader for justice.
Right.
Others see him as a politically motivated prosecutor who went too far.
Okay.
His role in the Clinton-Lewinsky saga remains a subject of debate, highlighting the challenges of investigating powerful figures
Right.
and the potential for political bias to influence legal proceedings.
It's a tangled web, isn't it?
It is.
So many players, so many motives, so much at stake.
Right.
And at the center of it all, this complicated relationship between a president and an intern, a relationship that would forever change their lives and leave an indelible mark on American history.
Absolutely. It's remarkable how a single relationship could trigger such a chain reaction, shaking the nation, igniting a political firestorm, and forcing us to confront some uncomfortable truths about power, privacy, and accountability.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
About the ripple effects of our actions and how something that starts as private can become incredibly public, especially in today's world.
The Clinton-Lewinsky scandal, while predating social media, offers valuable insights into how we navigate power dynamics, media scrutiny, and public perception in our hyper-connected age.
We've covered a lot of ground here, the timeline, the Starr report, those dramatic congressional hearings, the political fallout.
Right.
But let's zoom in on one more crucial element from the Starr report.
Okay.
Those gifts exchanged between Clinton and Lewinsky.
The gifts themselves were interesting, but the timing of those exchanges really raised eyebrows. The report highlighted how some gifts were given after the subpoena,
Right.
which raised questions about potential obstruction of justice.
Right. It makes you wonder if those gifts were intended to influence Lewinsky or perhaps even discourage her from cooperating with the investigation.
And then there's the infamous blue dress, the one with Clinton's DNA.
Oh, yeah.
It became a symbol of the entire scandal.
It's almost hard to believe that a single piece of clothing could carry so much weight.
But it did. That dress and the DNA evidence it contained became central to the prosecution's case, shifting the focus from denials to forensic details.
It was a tangible piece of evidence connecting the personal and the political in a way that was impossible to ignore.
And beyond the physical evidence, there was the symbolism.
Right.
The blue dress became a representation of betrayal, secrecy, and the abuse of power. It captured the public imagination, fueling the media frenzy surrounding the scandal.
It's amazing how certain objects can take on such powerful meaning in the context of historical events.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that these scandals, these political dramas, are not just abstract concepts.
Yeah.
They involve real people, real lives, real consequences.
Speaking of consequences, we've talked about the immediate impact of the scandal, but what about the long-term political and personal ramifications?
The scandal undoubtedly contributed to a climate of partisan division and cynicism in American politics, a trend that continues to this day. It also led to reforms in campaign finance laws and a heightened awareness of sexual harassment in the workplace.
So despite the negative aspects, there were some positive outcomes as well.
Yes, some important conversations were sparked and some necessary changes were made.
And what about the individuals involved? How did the scandal impact their lives?
Clinton was impeached by the House of Representatives, but acquitted by the Senate. He remained in office, but his reputation was undeniably tarnished.
A mixed legacy, to say the least.
Indeed, and Lewinsky, well, she endured public humiliation and intense media scrutiny.
Yeah.
It took a tremendous amount of strength and resilience for her to rebuild her life in the wake of the scandal.
It's a reminder that these events, while often discussed in terms of their political impact, also have profound personal consequences for those at the center of the storm.
Absolutely. It's crucial to remember the human cost of these scandals, the lasting impact on the individuals caught in the crossfire.
We've explored the timeline, dissected the legal documents, and relived those pivotal moments in the Clinton-Lewinsky saga. But this deep dive is just the beginning.
There's always more to learn, more perspectives to consider, more nuances to uncover.
We encourage you to continue exploring this event on your own, delve deeper into the sources, engage with different viewpoints, and form your own conclusions about this complex and fascinating chapter in American history.
History is not just a collection of facts and dates. It's an ongoing conversation, a dialogue between the past and the present.
And it's a conversation that we can all participate in by asking questions, seeking understanding, and engaging with the complexities of the past.
The Clinton-Lewinsky scandal, while rooted in a specific time and place, continues to resonate with us today as we grapple with issues of power, accountability, and the ever-evolving relationship between our public and private lives.
It's a story that challenges us to think critically, to examine our own values, and to consider the enduring legacies of events that shape our world.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.